The day Bianca Summers stepped off the stagecoach in Willow Creek, Montana Territory, in 1875. A sudden gust of wind tore her carefully pinned shawl from her shoulders, exposing what she'd spent years hiding from the world. In that moment of vulnerability, only one person noticed: a rugged cowboy with kind eyes who quickly retrieved her garment and returned it with a gentleness that seemed at odds with his weathered appearance. "Thank you, sir," she whispered, clutching the fabric tightly against her back, her hands trembling slightly as she secured it in place. "Just doing what any decent man would," he replied, tipping his hat before turning away. Bianca watched him go, relief washing over her that he'd made no mention of what he might have glimpsed. At 22, she had traveled nearly 2,000 miles to escape the whispers and stares that had followed her in Boston. Willow Creek represented a fresh start, a place where no one knew her story or the cruel marks that told it. The frontier town was smaller than she had imagined: one main street lined with wooden buildings, a general store, saloon, and a modest white church at the far end. Horses were hitched to posts outside establishments, and the air smelled of dust, pine, and wood smoke. Gathering her courage and her bags, Bianca made her way to Mrs. Henderson's boarding house, where she had arranged to stay until finding more permanent accommodations. Her position as the new schoolteacher would begin in 2 weeks, giving her time to settle in before the children returned from helping their families with the summer harvest. Mrs. Henderson was a plump, cheerful woman with gray-streaked hair pulled into a tight bun. "Welcome, Miss Summers. We've been eagerly awaiting your arrival. The children need proper schooling, something fierce." "I'm happy to be here," Bianca replied, though her voice betrayed her exhaustion from the long journey. "Let me show you to your room, dear. You must be tired after such a long trip." Bianca followed the older woman up a narrow staircase to a small but clean room with a single bed, washstand, and chest of drawers. A window overlooked the main street, providing a view of the bustling little town below. "Supper's at 6 sharp," Mrs. Henderson informed her. "I'll leave you to rest now." When the door closed behind her landlady, Bianca finally allowed her shoulders to slump. She removed her bonnet and approached the small mirror hanging above the washstand. The woman who stared back at her had auburn hair and tired green eyes set in a pale face. She looked different from the privileged Boston girl who had left home months ago, thinner, more determined. Turning away from her reflection, Bianca carefully removed her traveling dress and the special corset she'd made with extra fabric across the back. The cool air touched the raised, crisscrossed scars that covered her from shoulders to waist, permanent reminders of the fire that had claimed her family when she was 18. She had survived where her parents and younger brother had not, pulled from the burning home by a neighbor. The doctors had called her recovery miraculous, but the scars remained, both physical and deeper ones that no one could see in Boston. Those scars had made her an object of pity, then rumors, then cruel speculation. Here in Montana Territory, no one would ever see them. She had designed her wardrobe carefully, with high necklines and specialized undergarments. She would be known only as the educated Easterner who had come to teach their children, not as the scarred survivor of tragedy. Bianca's first week in Willow Creek passed quickly as she prepared lessons and became acquainted with the town. The school was a single-room building with rows of benches, a large slate board, and shelves of well-worn books. She spent hours there each day, organizing materials and planning her curriculum. It was during one of these preparation days that she encountered the cowboy again. She was struggling to reach a high shelf when a deep voice startled her. "Need some help with that, madam." Bianca turned to find him standing in the doorway, hat in hand. In the clear light of day, she could see him properly tall and broad-shouldered, with sun-browned skin and dark hair that curled slightly at his collar. His eyes were a warm amber color that crinkled at the corners when he smiled. "I'm Adam Evans," he said. "Foreman at the Triple R Ranch." "Bianca Summers," she replied. "The new schoolteacher," he nodded. Word travels fast in a town this size. Everyone's mighty pleased to have a proper teacher for the young uns. And what brings you to the schoolhouse, Mr. Evans? She asked, smoothing her skirts self-consciously. Sheriff asked me to check if there's anything you need fixed before term starts. Winter comes early up here, and this old building's got some drafty spots that need attending to. That's very kind. The windows do rattle a bit when the wind blows. Adam moved further into the room, surveying the space with a critical eye. I can fix those easy enough. What about that shelf you were reaching for? Oh, I was just trying to arrange some books. He crossed to where she stood and reached up effortlessly to grab the volumes she'd been attempting to access. As he handed them down, their fingers brushed momentarily, causing Bianca to pull back slightly. If Adam noticed her reaction, he didn't comment. Instead, he spent the next hour examining the schoolhouse, making notes of repairs needed, and occasionally asking questions about her plans for teaching. Most of these kids haven't had much formal education, he explained. Their parents do what they can, but surviving out here takes most of their time and energy. I understand, Bianca said. I'm prepared to meet them where they are. Adam's gaze lingered on her face for a moment. You're not what folks expected when they heard about the teacher from Boston. And what did they expect? Someone older, I reckon, maybe a bit more. Stern, forbidding, Bianca suggested with a small smile. Adam laughed. Something like that. Instead, they got someone young, and he stopped himself, looking slightly embarrassed. And what, Mr. Evans? She prompted. Pretty, he finished simply. Makes me wish I was school age again. The compliment brought warmth to Bianca's cheeks. It had been a long time since she'd allowed herself to think about how men might see her. In Boston, after the accident, potential suitors had either vanished or approached her out of pity. Thank you for your help today, she said, changing the subject. Will you be making these repairs yourself? Yes, madam. I'll be back tomorrow with my tools if that suits you. That would be fine. After Adam left, Bianca found herself standing at the window, watching his retreating figure. There was something about him that put her at ease, a straightforward quality that seemed genuine. But she reminded herself that she hadn't come to Montana to find romance. She had come to build a new life, one that didn't revolve around her scars or past tragedy. True to his word, Adam returned the next day with tools and supplies. Bianca had planned to work on lesson plans while he made repairs, but she found herself drawn into conversation with him instead. Have you lived in Willow Creek long? She asked as he expertly fixed a loose floorboard. Born and raised, he replied, driving a nail with precise strokes. Except for 3 years during the war. You fought in the war, he nodded. Union cavalry. Came back in '65 and went to work for the RRR. And your family? Lost my pa in the war. Ma passed on 5 years ago. I've got a younger sister who married a shopkeeper over in Helena. Bianca nodded, sensing his story held more than he was sharing but respecting his privacy. What about you? Adam asked. What brings a Boston lady all the way to Montana? Bianca tensed slightly. I wanted adventure, I suppose, and the opportunity to make a difference. Long way to come for adventure when most folks here would give their eyeteeth to see Boston. Sometimes what you're looking for isn't where you are, she replied softly. Adam studied her for a moment. Guess that's true enough. They worked in companionable silence after that, with Adam making repairs and Bianca organizing her desk. When lunchtime came, she surprised him by producing a simple meal of bread, cheese, and apples that she'd brought from the boarding house. You didn't have to feed me, he protested, though he accepted the food gratefully. Consider it payment for your work, she replied. I don't have much money to spare. Teaching doesn't pay well, even back east. It pays adequately, but I had expenses before leaving Boston. Medical bills, special clothing, and the cost of traveling across the country had depleted most of her inheritance. As they ate, Adam told her stories about the ranch and the colorful characters of Willow Creek. His descriptions were vivid and often humorous, painting a picture of a community that, despite its hardships, took care of its own. You'll do well here, he said unexpectedly. Folks might seem standoffish at first, but they warm up once they know you're genuine. I hope so, Bianca replied. I want to belong somewhere again. The wistfulness in her voice must have revealed more than she intended because Adam's expression softened. Everyone deserves a place to belong, he said quietly. Over the next few days, Adam continued making improvements to the schoolhouse, arriving each morning with a tip of his hat and a warm smile. Bianca found herself looking forward to their time together, even as she cautioned herself against growing too attached. On the day before school was to begin, Adam came to install a new stove for the winter months. The work was dusty, and by midday, Bianca had removed her outer jacket, remaining in her high-necked blouse as she cleaned the newly delivered slates. As she reached for a slate that had fallen, she felt her specially designed blouse pull tightly across her back. A sudden panic gripped her. What if a seam had torn? She tried to reach behind herself to check but couldn't quite manage it. Need a hand? Adam asked, noticing her contortions. No, she exclaimed, more sharply than intended. At his startled expression, she softened her tone. I mean, no thank you, I'm fine. But Adam had already crossed the room to her. Something wrong with your dress? It's nothing, she insisted, stepping away. Just thought I felt a loose thread. Adam nodded, though his eyes reflected curiosity. If you say so. The moment passed, but it left Bianca shaken. She had become so comfortable in Adam's presence that she'd almost forgotten her need for constant vigilance. She couldn't afford such carelessness again. When he finished installing the stove, Adam stood wiping his hands on a rag. That should keep you and the little ones warm through winter. Thank you for everything you've done, Bianca said sincerely. It was my pleasure, Miss Summers. He hesitated, then added, the harvest dance is coming up in 2 weeks. Whole town turns out for it. I'd be honored if you'd consider attending with me. The invitation caught Bianca by surprise. Her immediate instinct was to refuse. Dancing would be risky, requiring movements that might expose her back. But the hopeful look in Adam's eyes made her hesitate. I'm not sure that would be proper, given my position as the teacher, she hedged. Begging your pardon, but the last teacher was married to the blacksmith, and no one thought twice about them dancing together at town gatherings. Bianca searched for another excuse. I don't have anything suitable to wear for such an occasion. Adam's smile widened. Then you haven't met Mrs. Patterson yet. She's got fabric and patterns from clear back east. Been looking for an excuse to make something fancy, I'd wager. Finding herself cornered, Bianca reluctantly agreed. Very well, Mr. Evans. I would be pleased to accompany you to the dance. The delight that spread across Adam's face caused an unexpected flutter in her chest. I'll call for you at 6 on the evening of the dance, he said, gathering his tools. After he left, Bianca sat at her desk, wondering what she'd gotten herself into. The thought of attending a dance, of being in a room filled with people who might notice something odd about her clothing or movements, filled her with dread. Yet there was another feeling too, one she hadn't experienced in years: anticipation. The next morning, Bianca met her students for the first time, 28 children ranging from 6 to 16, with varying levels of education. Some could barely write their names, while others had been taught the basics by parents or older siblings. She approached her task with enthusiasm, quickly establishing routines and assessing each child's abilities. By the end of the first week, she had divided them into groups based on skill rather than age, allowing each to progress at their own pace. The children responded well to her patient, encouraging teaching style. Even the oldest boys, initially skeptical of taking instruction from a young woman from the East, were won over by her respectful treatment and genuine interest in their lives. After school one Friday, Adam appeared at the schoolhouse door. Thought you might like to see a bit more of the area before winter sets in, he suggested. I've got a wagon ready if you're interested in a tour. Bianca hesitated only briefly before accepting. The afternoon was pleasant, with golden autumn sunlight filtering through the yellowing leaves of cottonwood trees along the creek. Adam proved to be an excellent guide, pointing out landmarks and sharing local history as they traveled the main roads surrounding Willow Creek. He showed her where the town had started as a simple trading post 15 years earlier, the site of an old Blackfoot camp, and finally, the Triple R Ranch where he worked. The ranch was impressive, a large main house, bunkhouse for the cowboys, barn, corrals, and outbuildings spread across a valley with mountains rising in the distance. Cattle grazed on the grassy slopes, while horses watched curiously as the wagon passed. "It's beautiful," Bianca breathed, taking in the scenery. "Most beautiful place on earth to my thinking," Adam agreed. "Been working here since I was 16, except for those war years. You must enjoy it very much." "I do. Hoping to have my own spread someday, been saving up." As they turned back toward town, Adam pointed out a small cabin set apart from the main ranch buildings. "That's my place," he said with evident pride. "Built it myself 3 years back. You live separately from the other ranch hands." "Got tired of snoring and card games every night," he explained with a chuckle. "Besides, a man reaches a certain age, he starts thinking about what's next." "And what is next for you, Mr. Evans?" Bianca asked softly. Adam glanced at her, his expression thoughtful. "Been thinking on that a lot lately." He didn't elaborate further, but something in his tone made Bianca wonder if she figured into those thoughts. The weeks leading up to the harvest dance were busy ones for Bianca. Between teaching and helping several of her older students prepare for territorial examinations, she had little time to worry about the upcoming social event. As Adam had suggested, she visited Mrs. Patterson's dressmaking shop to inquire about a suitable dress for the occasion. The dressmaker, a fashionable woman in her 40s who had once worked in St. Louis, was delighted to help. "I've been hoping you'd come by," she said warmly. "I have just the pattern, a new style from Philadelphia that would suit your coloring perfectly." Bianca examined the fashion plate. Mrs. Patterson showed her an elegant gown with a high neckline and full sleeves. "It's lovely," she admitted, "but I have some specific requirements." Mrs. Patterson nodded understandingly. "Many ladies do. What are your concerns?" Taking a deep breath, Bianca explained, "I need the back to be completely covered and the fabric substantial enough that nothing shows through." If the dressmaker found the request unusual, she didn't show it. "I can certainly accommodate that. I have a beautiful burgundy fabric with enough weight to drape properly without being transparent, and I can design the back with an extra lining layer for your comfort." Relief washed over Bianca. "That sounds perfect." Over several fittings, Mrs. Patterson created a dress that was both fashionable and secure. The burgundy fabric complemented Bianca's auburn hair, and the design cleverly concealed her back while flattering her figure. On the night of the dance, Mrs. Henderson helped Bianca arrange her hair in an elegant style, with soft curls framing her face. "You look beautiful, dear," the landlady said approvingly. "That young Mr. Evans won't know what hit him." "He's just being kind," Bianca protested, though her blush suggested she hoped for more. Adam arrived promptly at 6, dressed in his best clothes, dark trousers, a crisp white shirt, and a vest that had clearly been saved for special occasions. He had trimmed his hair and beard, and when his eyes fell on Bianca, they widened appreciatively. "Miss Summers," he said, his voice slightly hoarse, "you look absolutely stunning." "Thank you, Mr. Evans. You look quite handsome yourself." He offered his arm, and they made their way to the town hall, which had been decorated with autumn leaves, corn husks, and lanterns for the occasion. A small band was playing lively tunes, and many townspeople were already dancing or socializing around tables laden with food and punch. Bianca was introduced to dozens of people, parents of her students, shopkeepers, ranchers, and their wives. Everyone was welcoming, though she noticed curious glances exchanged when they thought she wasn't looking. "They're just trying to figure out if you and I are courting," Adam murmured close to her ear as they stood near the punch bowl. "And what should I tell them if they ask?" she responded, surprising herself with her boldness. Adam's smile was slow and warm. You might tell them that I'm hoping we are." Before Bianca could respond, the band struck up a waltz and Adam extended his hand. "May I have this dance?" Despite her earlier concerns, Bianca found herself nodding. Adam led her to the dance floor, placing one hand properly at her waist while holding her other hand gently in his. "I should warn you," she said nervously. "I haven't danced in some time. Just follow my lead," he assured her. "I won't let you fall," and he didn't. Adam guided her smoothly across the floor, keeping his movements simple and predictable. Gradually, Bianca relaxed into the dance, allowing herself to enjoy the music and the feeling of being held by a man who looked at her as if she were the most beautiful woman in the room. They danced several more times that evening, with Adam respecting Bianca's need for rest between dances. During one such break, they stepped outside for fresh air, walking a short distance from the hall. The night was clear, with stars scattered like diamond dust across the dark sky. In the distance, coyotes called to one another, their eerie songs floating on the cool autumn air. "Thank you for inviting me tonight," Bianca said softly. "I've enjoyed myself more than I expected to." "I'm glad," Adam replied. "You deserve some happiness, Bianca." The use of her first name startled her momentarily, but she found she liked the way it sounded in his deep voice. "May I ask you something personal?" he continued hesitantly. Bianca tensed slightly. "You may ask, I can't promise to answer." "Fair enough." Adam took a breath. "I've noticed how careful you are about certain things, the way you dress, how you move. And that day in the schoolhouse when you thought something might be wrong with your blouse, you looked frightened." Bianca remained silent, her heart racing. "I'm not asking you to tell me anything you don't want to," Adam said gently. "I just want you to know that whatever you're protecting or hiding, it doesn't change how I see you." Tears pricked at Bianca's eyes. "You can't know that. I know that you're kind, intelligent, and braver than most men I've met. Whatever happened in Boston, whatever brought you here, it's part of your story, but it's not all of who you are." His words touched something deep within her, a place that had been wounded long before the fire that scarred her body. Bianca had spent so long defining herself by her scars and losses that she'd almost forgotten there was more to her. "Thank you," she whispered, unable to say more past the lump in her throat. Adam seemed to understand. He offered his arm again. "Shall we go back inside? I believe they're serving Mrs. Taylor's famous apple pie." The dance marked a turning point in Bianca's life in Willow Creek. She found herself becoming part of the community in ways she hadn't anticipated. Parents invited her to Sunday dinners, women included her in quilting bays, and she began attending church regularly. Through it all, Adam was a constant presence, calling at the boarding house to walk her to school on cold mornings, bringing her interesting books he thought she might enjoy, and sometimes just sitting with her on the porch in comfortable silence. As winter settled over Montana territory, blanketing the landscape in snow and ice, Bianca discovered an unexpected contentment in her new life. The schoolhouse was warm thanks to Adam's work. Her students were progressing well, and for the first time in years, she felt she belonged somewhere. Yet her secret remained between them, an unspoken barrier. She knew Adam was curious about her past, but he never pressed, respecting her privacy even as their relationship deepened. On Christmas Eve, after the school pageant where her students had performed admirably, Adam invited Bianca to his cabin for supper the following evening. "It won't be fancy," he warned, "but I make a decent venison stew and I'd like to give you your Christmas gift in private." Bianca hesitated, but only briefly. "I'd be delighted." Christmas Day dawned clear and bitingly cold. After exchanging modest gifts with Mrs. Henderson, Bianca bundled up in her warmest clothes and allowed Adam to drive her to his cabin in a sleigh. The small structure was neat and surprisingly comfortable inside, with a cheerful fire burning in the stone fireplace. Adam had decorated with pine boughs and candles, and the table was set with his best dishes, mismatched but clean and carefully arranged. "It's lovely," Bianca said sincerely, looking around at the simple, welcoming space. Make yourself comfortable while I finish supper, Adam suggested, taking her coat. The meal was delicious venison stew, fresh bread, and preserved vegetables from Adam's root cellar. For dessert, he produced an apple pie that he admitted Mrs. Henderson had helped him bake. Afterward, they sat before the fire, enjoying the warmth and each other's company. When Adam handed Bianca a small package wrapped in brown paper, she felt a flutter of nervous excitement. "Merry Christmas, Bianca," he said softly. She unwrapped it carefully to reveal a small wooden box, intricately carved with wildflowers and a mountain scene. When she opened it, a gentle melody played a tune she recognized as Beautiful Dreamer. "Adam, it's exquisite," she breathed, running her fingers over the delicate carving. "Made the box myself," he admitted. "Ordered the music works from Denver. You carved this?" she asked, impressed. "I had no idea you were so talented." "There's a lot of quiet hours in winter," he said with a smile. "Gives a man time to work with his hands." Bianca reached for her own gift, a hand-knitted scarf in a deep blue that matched his eyes, and a book of poetry she'd ordered from San Francisco. "It's not as impressive as your gift," she apologized. "It's perfect," he assured her, immediately wrapping the scarf around his neck. "Been needing a new one." As the evening grew late, Adam stoked the fire and they talked quietly about their hopes for the coming year. Bianca found herself sharing more than she'd intended, her dreams of possibly establishing a library for the town, her concern for several students who showed particular promise but lacked opportunities. "You've made a real difference here," Adam told her. "Those kids adore you." "So does everyone else." "Not everyone," Bianca corrected him with a small smile. "Mrs. Barker still looks at me like I might corrupt her grandson with my Eastern ways." Adam laughed. "Mrs. Barker looks at everyone that way. Pay her no mind." A comfortable silence fell between them, broken only by the crackling of the fire. Finally, Adam spoke, his voice gentle but serious. "Bianca, I've been wanting to tell you something for a while now." She looked up, meeting his gaze. "Yes, I've grown to care for you deeply. More than I've ever cared for anyone. I hope that you might feel something for me too." Bianca's heart raced. "I do," she admitted quietly. "I don't want to rush you or pressure you," he continued, "but I want you to know that my feelings are serious and honorable. Whatever it is you're not ready to share with me, whatever happened in your past, it doesn't change how I feel." Tears filled Bianca's eyes. She wanted so badly to believe him, to trust that what they were building together could withstand the truth. But fear held her back, fear of rejection, of pity, of seeing the light in his eyes dim when he saw what she truly was. "Adam, there's something you don't know about me," she began hesitantly. "Something I've hidden from everyone here." He reached for her hand, holding it gently in his larger one. "You can tell me anything or nothing at all. It's your choice." His kindness broke something inside her. The words came slowly at first, then faster as she told him about the fire that had claimed her family, her rescue, and the months of painful recovery. She explained how the scars had changed everything, how former friends and suitors had retreated, how whispers and stares had followed her, how she'd eventually decided to leave Boston entirely to escape being defined by her tragedy. When she finished speaking, tears streamed down her face. Adam had not interrupted once, listening intently to every word. "The scars cover my entire back," she concluded. They're hideous. That's why I'm so careful about my clothing, why I was frightened that day in the schoolhouse." Adam was quiet for a long moment, still holding her hand. When he finally spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. "Bianca, those scars are proof of something incredible, that you survived when others didn't, that you had the courage to build a new life. How could anyone see them as anything but a testament to your strength?" Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "You don't understand, you haven't seen them. Do you trust me?" he asked suddenly. After a moment's hesitation, she nodded. Adam stood and moved to a chest in the corner of the room. He returned with something in his hands, what appeared to be a folded shirt. Sitting beside her again, he began to unbutton his own shirt. "What are you doing?" Bianca asked, confused. "Showing you something I don't show many people," he replied, removing his shirt to reveal a lean, muscular torso marked by a massive scar that ran from his right shoulder across his chest to his left hip. "Antietam," he said simply. "Cavalry charge." "Confederate saber caught me as I fell from my horse. Doctors said I shouldn't have survived the night." Bianca stared at the scar, her hand instinctively reaching out before she caught herself. "It's all right," Adam said. "You can touch it if you want." Gently, she traced the raised line across his chest. "Does it still hurt? In cold weather sometimes, but mostly I forget it's there." He took her hand and pressed it flat against his chest over his heart. "The real wounds were inside, losing friends, the things I saw and did during the war." "How did you heal?" she whispered. "By letting people help me, by not hiding what happened, but not letting it define me either." His eyes held her steadily. "Bianca, your scars are part of you, but they're not who you are. They're just proof that you're stronger than whatever tried to destroy you." Something shifted inside her at his words, a loosening of the tight knot of shame and fear she'd carried for so long. "No one has ever said anything like that to me before," she said softly. "Then they weren't seeing you clearly." Adam leaned forward, gently brushing away a tear from her cheek. "I see you, Bianca, all of you, and I love what I see." The word love hung in the air between them. He hadn't said it accidentally, his eyes told her that much. "You can't know that," she protested weakly. "You haven't seen all of me." "I've seen your heart," he replied simply. "The rest are just details." In that moment, Bianca made a decision that terrified and liberated her simultaneously. Standing, she turned her back to him and began unfastening the top buttons of her dress. "Bianca, you don't have to, I want to," she interrupted. "I need to know if you mean what you say." With trembling fingers, she loosened her dress enough to expose her upper back, then carefully lowered the fabric to reveal the intricate pattern of scars that covered her skin from shoulders to waist. She heard Adam's soft intake of breath and closed her eyes, bracing for his reaction. What she felt instead was the gentle pressure of his fingertips, tracing one of the scars with infinite tenderness. "You are so beautiful," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "So incredibly beautiful and brave." A sob escaped her as his words washed over her. When his lips pressed softly against her scarred shoulder, Bianca felt something healing inside her that had nothing to do with her physical wounds. Carefully, Adam helped her secure her dress again before turning her to face him. His eyes shone with unshed tears and something else, admiration, not pity. "I love you, Bianca Summers," he said clearly. "Your scars, your strength, your heart, all of you." "I love you too," she whispered, the words coming easily now, naturally. His kiss was gentle at first, then deepened as she responded, her arms winding around his neck as his encircled her waist. When they finally parted, both were breathless. "Marry me," Adam said, the words more statement than question. "Be my wife, my partner. Let me spend my life showing you how beautiful you are to me." Through tears of joy, Bianca nodded. "Yes, yes, I will." Bianca and Adam were married in the spring when wildflowers carpeted the meadows around Willow Creek. The entire town turned out for the celebration, which took place in the church, where Bianca had gradually found her spiritual footing again after years of anger at God for the loss of her family. Mrs. Patterson created a wedding dress that was both modest and beautiful, with special attention to the back design that would ensure Bianca's comfort while honoring her wishes for coverage. But something had changed in Bianca during the months of her engagement, a new confidence that came from being truly loved and accepted. The night before the wedding, as Mrs. Henderson helped with final alterations, Bianca made a surprising request. "Could you lower the back just a little?" she asked. "Perhaps a modest V-shape," the landlady looked startled. "Are you certain, dear?" I'm certain," Bianca confirmed. "Just a small change." At the wedding reception, held outdoors under blooming apple trees, Adam led Bianca in their first dance as husband and wife. The slight V in the back of her gown revealed just the uppermost edges of her scars, visible to anyone who looked closely. "Are you comfortable?" Adam murmured against her ear as they moved to the music. Yes, she replied and meant it. They're part of my story, our story now. He smiled, drawing her closer. Have I told you today how much I love you? Only about a dozen times, she teased. Well, here's lucky number 13. I love you, Bianca Evans. The name still sounded new to her ears but felt right in her heart. And I love you, Adam Evans. As the years passed, Bianca continued teaching even after their first child was born, a daughter they named Hope. Adam eventually purchased land adjacent to the Triple R, establishing their own small ranch while he continued working as foreman. Their home became known for its hospitality, with Bianca particularly compassionate toward those who had suffered their own tragedies. When a young ranch hand was badly burned in a fire, it was Bianca who sat with him during his recovery, showing him her own scars and assuring him that a full life awaited him beyond his pain. Adam would watch these moments with quiet pride, still seeing in his wife the same courage that had first drawn him to her. On warm summer evenings when their children were asleep, they would sit together on the porch of the home they'd built, looking out at the mountains and the life they'd created together. You ever regret it? Bianca asked him once, years into their marriage, choosing a wife with so many scars. Adam smiled, taking her hand in his. I don't see scars when I look at you, he said simply. I just see the woman brave enough to show them with pride.